Good afternoon. My name is Barbara Fuller. As Chair of the Board, I welcome you to this April 5th, 2022 regular meeting of the Washtenaw County Board of Road Commissioners. Our Communications Manager, Emily Kaiser, will describe how our meetings operate, how to access the agenda packet, and how people may participate remotely. Emily.
Thanks, Commissioner. There are multiple ways to make public comment during today's meeting, whether you're joining us in person or virtually. If you're here in person and would like to make public comment, please fill out the sign-in sheet now. If you're joining us virtually, we will ask you to virtually raise your hand at the appropriate time in the agenda. If you're joining us virtually, the chat feature on this Zoom meeting is available only as technical support for users on their computer or smartphone. If you're experiencing technical issues with audio or video during the meeting, please submit a comment and I will try to help you troubleshoot. If you're a staff member experiencing issues, please contact the IT help desk for assistance. The audio and video of this meeting is being recorded. A link to the video recording will be posted to wcroads.org in the coming days. There are also printed copies of today's meeting agenda on the table in the back here, and it's posted to wcroads.org. There's a link available in the chat if you're joining us virtually that'll take you right to that website. Thanks, Commissioner.
Thank you, Emily. I now call this meeting to order and ask Aaron to call the roll.
Chair Barb Fuller,
Present.
Vice Chair Rod Green,
Here.
Commissioner Douglas Fuller,
Present.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas,
Here.
Commissioner Joanne McCollum.
Present.
And the following directors are in attendance: Managing Director Cheryl Siddle, Director of Engineering and County Highway Engineer Matt Mcdonald, Director of Operations Jim Harmon, and Director of Finance and IT Dan Ackerman.
Thank you, Aaron. If you would all care to, you may join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May I have a motion, please, to approve the agenda as presented?
So move.
Support.
Any discussion, changes, additions, deletions? Hearing none. Aaron, if you would please call the roll.
Commissioner Rod Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Douglas Fuller,
Aye.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas,
Yes.
Commissioner Joanne McCollum,
Yes.
and Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes. Next item on our agenda is acceptance of minutes. We actually have 4 sets of minutes to approve today. May I have a motion to accept the board meeting minutes of March 15th, 2022? They appear on pages 4 through 19 of the packet.
Certainly.
Support. Any discussion? Any corrections, additions, deletions to those minutes? Hearing none. Aaron, if you would please call the roll.
Commissioner Douglas Fuller,
Aye.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas,
Yes.
Commissioner Joanne McCollum,
Yes.
Commissioner Rod Green,
Aye.
and Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes. Next item for acceptance are the closed session minutes of March 15th, 2022. May I have a motion to accept them?
So moved.
Support. Any discussion or changes to those closed session minutes? Hearing none. Aaron, if you would call the roll, please.
Commissioner Joanne McCollum,
Yes.
Commissioner Rod Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Douglas Fuller,
Aye.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas,
Yes.
and Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes. May I have a motion to accept the working session minutes of March 15th, 2022, appearing on pages 20 through 22 of the agenda packet?
So moved.
Support. Any discussion? Additions, corrections, deletions? Seeing none. Aaron, if you would please call the roll.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas,
Yes.
Commissioner Douglas Fuller,
Aye.
Commissioner Joanne McCollum,
Yes.
Commissioner Rod Green,
Yes.
and Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes. The last set of minutes that we need to deal with are the closed session minutes of the working session of March 15th, 2022. These were sent separately to the board members. May I have a motion?
So move.
Support.
Any discussion, additions, changes? Hearing none. Aaron, if you would please call the roll.
Commissioner Rod Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Joanne McCollum,
Yes.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas,
Yes.
Commissioner Douglas Fuller,
Aye.
Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes. Next item on our agenda is public comment. This is the time set aside on the agenda to receive comments from the public. This is not intended to be a period for dialogue. Each person will be allotted 3 minutes to address the board, and Emily will explain how people may be recognized to offer comments. Emily.
Thanks, Commissioner. So since this is a hybrid meeting with both in-person and virtual attendees, we will take turns between those attending in person and those attending virtually. For virtual attendees, we ask that you virtually raise your hand now. If you're viewing the meeting on your computer, first make sure to click Join Audio. You can then raise your hand by clicking the Participants or Reactions button at the bottom of your screen, and then the Raise Hand button. If you dialed into the meeting from your touch-tone phone, you can raise your hand by dialing *9. I will unmute virtual participants with raised hands one at a time. I will announce your username or the last 4 digits of your phone number when it is your turn to speak. Please share your name and address before beginning your comments. For in-person attendees, we will start with those of you who have signed up on the sign-in sheet as you walked in. If you didn't sign in, you are still welcome to make comment. I'll notify you when it is your turn. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to share their comments with the board.
Thank you.
Okay, and we do have a number of people on our sign-in sheet that would like to make comments, so we'll start with them. The first is Ms. Antoinette. And I'll start the timer.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
I received a letter from the Washtenaw County Road Commission,
Yes, ma'am.
and they made a mistake. It was for sewers, but it's for the road itself that did damage to my home and my yard and my garage and my breezeway. And that's all I got to say, I guess, right now. But this is against Washtenaw Road Commission. And like I said, it's not for the sewer, it's for my front yard, the
There's
mud.
drainage off of the road.
Could you please restate your name for me, ma'am?
Antoinette St. Charles.
St. Charles. And what is your address, ma'am?
Pardon?
Your address?
9585 West Huron River Drive, Dexter, Michigan, 48130.
I'm writing. Anything additional you wish to share with us?
I'm sorry.
Anything additional you wish to share with us at this time?
Well, yes, because the dust that is accumulating now after it has all been cleaned is getting hard for me, for my eyes. I'm having trouble with my eyes. And I'm also having the dirt analyzed just for my own good, because I don't know what's going on. But it needs to be taken care of.
Did you submit anything in writing to us, Ms. St. Charles?
No,
No.
I
Okay.
just called the commissioner from District 1. I don't know how to pronounce his last name because it's, it's just, I can't pronounce it. But anyway, I think his first name is Jason.
Okay. And did you, when you signed in, did you give us your phone number?
Yes,
and-
I did.
So we know how to get back to you?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
We will make sure to do that.
Okay.
Thanks for
thank
coming
you.
today.
Okay.
Thank you. Ms. Emily?
Okay, next on our list is we have a Robert of Pine Court. Go ahead, Robert.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Robert Penny. I live at 8623 Pine Court. And I want to know why it's taking so long to get a pothole fixed on our street and to have some speed bumps so they won't be racing up and down the street, because it's hard to get off of my street sometimes because they come so fast, because there's no light there. It's a stop sign, but it doesn't make any difference. They don't slow down.
And where is Pine Court, sir? I'm sorry, I don't.
It's in Superior Township.
Okay.
Because I've been living there since 1989, and the roads haven't never been this bad.
Okay. And did you leave a phone number and or an email when you signed in so we know how to
Yeah,
get back to
I
you?
left a phone number.
Very good. We
All
will do
right.
that. Thank you for coming today.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, next on the list is, maybe Creed of Cedar Court as well. I'm sorry. I can't read the handwriting here. Maybe C. Yeah, if there's someone else on Cedar Court that would like to make comment, go ahead.
Cedar Court or Pine Court?
Okay, no problem. And then oh, go ahead.
It's on the list.
Okay,
That's the one you can't read?
yeah, sorry. Okay.
Did
And
you care
then,
to speak, sir?
What?
Did you want to speak?
No, I'm support, but we all for the same thing, so yeah.
Oh, okay,
Three months on Cedar, me and on Stephen.
okay. All right.
okay, and then next on my list, is it Judy? Jody,
Sure. Sure.
maybe?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
You came all this way. You need to speak to us.
My name is Zora Clifton, Z like in zebra, Zora, Z-O-R-A. And I live at 8692 Pine Court.
All right.
And we're here to talk about the speed bumps on Stevens Drive that we need. I've been living at that address ever since 1988. And we want speed bumps on Stevens Drive because of the traffic, the speed traffic that goes down through there. Even police chase cars going down through there. So yeah, because I was sitting in my driveway with my granddaughter, and we live on the corner of Pine and Stevens. And that cop was chasing the car, went up in my yard, almost hit us and turned out. They thought it was a Pine, it was a court. They thought it was a straight through the person that they were chasing, but it wasn't. And we have also had our brand new fence we put up. Car ran into that. And we just here for speed bumps. We want speed bumps on Stevens Drive.
And you left your information so we know how to reach all of you?
Yes, my information is on the paper.
Okay, okay. We good then? All right. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
coming and speaking with us today.
All right,
Emily?
and then we have one more on the list, and I'm also struggling with this one. Is it Greg, maybe? Did you want to make comments, sir? Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Jerry Clifton. I live at 8692 Pine Court, and that was my wife that spoke just before me.
All right.
And I'm here about speed bumps and for Stevenson Drive. I live on Pine Court and Stevenson on the corner. More of my house is on Stevenson than it is Pine Court. And also a neighbor emailed me to mention that she lives on Nottingham. And she would like to know what the process is to get us. I saw some, I don't know if it's Superior Township or is it in Gibson Township where you can put some something on the lights or pole that say kids playing, because she said a couple of kids and almost got hit because of the traffic and the speed that come through it. Now, I would like to say this, the Washtenaw County Sheriff have done a very good job of slowing the traffic down on MacArthur by having the police departments that sits out there. But for every action, there is a reaction. So the people smart enough to not fly down MacArthur no more, to get to the town Sycamore Meadows, they cut through Stevenson Drive.
So
Now-
to avoid MacArthur, they're going down Stevenson?
Yes, because
Okay.
they know that if you go down Stevenson, the police officers, they're not there. Okay, so the day in question that my wife was talking about was the fact that Washtenaw County Sheriff was chasing a car coming down Stevenson. Coming from over there, coming down Stevenson, But this kid was just 18 years old and didn't know that Pine Court was a dead end street. So he come through going so fast, he couldn't maneuver the car to keep it in the street. It came flying up into my yard, toward my yard, up into my lawn. And my wife and my great granddaughter was sitting in the driveway, scared them half to death because they thought that the car was going to come up and hit them. But he got it straightened up enough to go on down to the street where Robert, down where he lived at. So that's just one. Other thing, I'm in the bed, car come flying in and run into the house, okay? Because I'm on that corner, okay? And she told you about, I think she did, about car going so fast that it would have ran into the house. The only thing stopped it was a tree. Okay, he hit the tree, threw him through the windshield. To this day, I don't know if he lived or not. It was about between 11 and 12. And they took him to the ambulance. He landed on the ground, so I don't know. Okay, been dealing with this here for about 10 years. It goes back to McFarland when he was the township supervisor. There have been 3 petitions about this street and the speed. And each time we have not even got to a vote because it says you don't, the process is laid out that if you don't get 10 up to 10 points, you don't get no recognition to vote. And then even if you do get the recognition to vote, if you look at your process, it's designed in a way that although I am a property owner, but if I was living there and not a property owner,
So a renter?
yeah, I couldn't vote, okay? Now, these people got kids, 3 kids done got hit right there in that corner, okay? But now guess what? You took their right away to even vote. Now, in my opinion, all we're asking is safety for the people in that area. Now, I come up with speed bumps. But when I got to looking around, there is no speed bumps in Superior Township. Right across the street is coming out from Nottingham in Ypsilanti Township, got all kinds of speed bumps. There ain't no sign that says 25 miles an hour where I live at. And I ain't for sure, can you park? Because I got people parking on both sides of the street and they come flying down and they will not stop or yield. I have to wear a jacket just to cut my grass. And I try to keep the neighborhood clean, picking up sticks and stuff. But they come so close up into the curb, it's going to be, it didn't got way beyond a problem. It is a problem. So if we can't get speed bumps, because, and I, over the years from the township is saying that the Washtenaw Road Commission does not want speed bumps because it tear up the fire equipment or the ambulance service. But okay, you look at Ypsilanti Township, they don't have no problem with the fire department going down. They don't have no problem with ambulance. Okay, then it got to be, well, speed bumps, just that. I said, okay, this is research. I said,
Jerry,
well,
I'm
you
sorry,
should-
that's your 3 minutes are up. But yeah, just your time is up, but
Okay,
I don't know, commissioners, if there's anything else you want to say.
here, I don't know if it's permissible, because I was gonna write something to give to the secretary. I think the process says you give it to the.
Aaron is the board
I get- can I-
secretary.
Yeah, I can take that for you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we know how to reach
Yes,
Mr. Clifton, right?
yep,
Okay.
we've got his contact information back here.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you for being
His
here
phone number's
today.
not, if you want to add your number, you can add your number to here, Jerry. Thank you. We do have one raised hand on virtual.
All right,
Commissioner Ricky Jefferson. Commissioner, you should be able to unmute yourself now.
Yes, can you hear me?
Go ahead. Yep, you've got your 3 minutes.
Thank you. Hello there, board members and everyone that involved with the road commission. Thank you for your service. So Mr. Clifton and his wife have spoken about the issue that I just wanted to kind of reiterate about the place that the Cliftons live, Pine Court and Stevenson Drive, is a very dangerous corner. As he said, 3 kids have been hit there, and they've been trying to get speed bumps for 10 years. There's over 3 petitions. I believe in June of 21st of last year, there was a speed report that said they came up to 6 points out of 10, and that was not enough for receiving speed bumps. They have had that assessment last spring. And as he said, the sheriff has been doing well in slowing down traffic on Nottingham, so now cars are coming speeding through in Stevenson Drive. He's had his fence hit, he's had a tree hit, he had his house hit, and he also lives on the corner where he pays more taxes than most people because he is on a corner lot. And for some reason, it seems that the road commission has found not able to approve speed bumps in that area, even though Superior Township, I don't know if the road commission knows, has said that they would pay for those speed bumps. So I'm just here to advocate that, you know, that's a dangerous place, and whatever it needs to be done to work with Mr. Clifton and Superior Township to get those speed bumps would be a lot safer for our community, which really is in a zip code where we need to have more resources as far as it goes with equity. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Commissioner Jefferson.
Okay, that's everybody, I think, on the sign-in sheet. Is there anybody else in the audience that would like to make public comment that we didn't call up already? Okay, last call for anybody virtual. If you would like to make public comment, you would click the participants or the reactions button on your screen and then the raise hand button, or you can dial *9 if you've joined us from your phone. With that, commissioners, I think we've gotten through everybody.
Okay. The next item on our, thank you everyone for your comments and for being here today. The next item on our agenda is written communications. They appear on pages 23 through 45 of the packet. Commissioners, is there anything you wish to draw our attention to or comment on?
Yes.
Commissioner Doug Fuller.
I just wanted to point out that we have a letter from Mr. Clifton
Yes.
in here that goes through I think it's a very well written letter that goes through the issues that he has.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you for drawing that to our attention. Commissioner Green,
And I would like to add that I had an opportunity to speak with Mr. Clifton.
is
and we
this
did
about
pass-
written communications?
Yes, it
Sir?
is.
Okay.
Yes, matter of fact, he addressed it to me, and I actually turned it over to our staff. Yes. But I did pass the information on, and I told him that we take a look at it very closely.
All right. Anyone else? Commissioner Yamas? Was that a,
Yeah,
it was.
so in
Wasn't sure.
regards to the written communication, Cheryl responds to all of our written communication, and there's some complex issues in all of the written communication that I know that she's addressing and that she addresses with we ask her to respond to that because she has all the research. I want to thank Mr. and Ms. Clifton for coming in, and I love your name, Zora. It reminds me of my favorite author. And thank you for coming in and for the letters, and you're heard, you know, and she will be getting back to you.
Is this about written communication? Yes. Managing Director Siddle.
Yeah, I would like to follow up. I too wanted to thank people for coming in and speaking today on Stevens Drive, or with respect to Stevens Drive. I would like to point out, we have looked at it, and Mr. Clifton is correct that it has not qualified under the Neighborhood Traffic Management Program. That is the same set of criteria we use countywide. That isn't just applied to Superior Township. That would be the same criteria we would be using in Ypsilanti Township and in other communities as well. We have too been working with Superior Township. I know that Assistant Director of Engineering, Brent Schlack, did present to Superior Township Board. So they are educated and aware of what the Neighborhood Traffic Management Program is. And while that road may not qualify for this program, there may be other things. We can certainly look at it from a broader context to see if there's anything else that we could do. Glad to hear that the Sheriff's Department is patrolling. That certainly is a key element to it as well. But we can certainly take another look at it, even if it doesn't qualify for speed humps, if there is anything else that we could do.
Anything else, commissioners? All right. Moving on, we now have commissioner and staff follow-up to public comment. Did we already do that, folks?
Well, I just want to thank everyone for taking the time to come out and let your voices be heard. It's so important to let us see your faces. Put faces to the names.
Could I ask a question as well?
Certainly, Commissioner Green.
The suggestion that there were no speed bumps in Superior Township, is that accurate?
I certainly can't answer that question.
I don't know if that's 100% true. I know most of our agreements have been with Ypsilanti Township and with Pittsfield Township. I don't remember there being an agreement with Superior, but I guess I would not do that, make that statement with utmost certainty. I would need to double check with staff.
Thank you.
Anything else? If there are no other comments in response, let's move. Oh, I'm sorry, but public comment is in the rear view mirror. Thank you. All right. Moving along, new business. We have a consent agenda. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented, items 1 through 17. They appear on pages 20 through 57. The background for all of those items starts on page 58 and runs through page 93. May I have a motion?
You may.
Support.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none. Aaron, if you would please call the roll.
Commissioner Joanne McCollum,
Yes.
Commissioner Rod Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Douglas Fuller,
Aye.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas,
Yes.
and Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes. Next on our agenda are reports from our county commissioners. Emily, do we have any of our commissioners tuned in here today?
We do. We have both Commissioner Sanders and Commissioner Schink. So I'll start with Commissioner Schink. You should be able to unmute yourself now.
Hi, my video's not starting, so if you can make me visible, that's great. If not, I'll just talk. Thank you for having me today. I appreciate your work. I appreciate the difficulty of the spring season. And I have asked Cheryl to meet with me to talk about if there's any other ways we can try to address maintenance, getting possibly the state more interested in the gravel roads, because it is, you know, as I said, spring is a hard time on people in District 2. It's hard to go anywhere without going over large potholes and wiggly road beds. And I understand that it's because of the ice and the way the melt and the freeze thaw go. So I appreciate that Cheryl will be meeting with me. And then the other thing is that, of course, we have our meeting on Wednesday. I don't think there's anything of particular concern to the Road Commission on that agenda. After that, we will be looking at a next version of American Rescue Plan fund allocations being proposed either in late May or early June, I believe. And I do believe that funding for culverts will be on there. And so also would like an opportunity to talk about that just to make sure that we get it right. It's really important. So thank you so much. That's all.
Thank you, Commissioner Schink, and I'm delighted to know that you will be meeting with our managing director and get your questions addressed, and we'll have an opportunity to explain in whatever depth you wish to have about how we do things, why we do things, and what constraints our organization works under. Thank you very much. Commissioner Sanders.
Yeah, here we've got Commissioner Sanders, you should be able to unmute yourself now.
I think the only thing that I need to add would be that the
The deadline for the Community Priority Fund is April 7th. So if there are any ears listening that are in touch with or aware of community groups or agencies that are interested in applying for that $8 million pot of funding, the deadline is 11/59/59 on April 7th. And we encourage you to share that information out with your neighbors and constituents so that they have a fair opportunity to apply for some of that funding. The only other thing that I'm going to say is that I think my town hall is coming up the end of this month, and I probably will be reaching out to either Cheryl or one of the commissioners, most likely Gloria, hint, hint, to see if anyone might be interested in joining that call and being able to just give some insight about the road commission to my my district. So other than that, I'm going to continue to say what I've said before. You are probably one of the most hardworking commissions that I've seen. And your meetings are just chock full of information. I don't have no idea how you keep up, but good work. And thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Sanders. Next, we have reports of the road commissioners. Start with Commissioner McCollum this time.
Okay, yes. On March 24th, I attended the virtual meeting on the Moon Road resurfacing. I then viewed the County Road Association video on re-graveling county roads. And that's my report.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Yamas?
No report.
Commissioner Green?
Yes, on March 24th, I attended the SEMCOG General Assembly meeting in Macomb County. That's the first time in about 2 years that we'd had such a large gathering like that. It was a good meeting.
Thank you for that attendance. Commissioner Doug Fuller?
I've already submitted a written report. I have a question for Commissioner Green, if it's all right.
Sure.
Yes.
I'll back up and you two can.
The SEMCOG thing, and I want everyone listening to know that Rod had to drive about 417 miles to
Yeah, I was
attend
gonna
that
say.
meeting, since it was in a part of Macomb County that would otherwise be known as Canada. I don't know how they chose that. When you say it was well attended, does that mean 50 people or 200?
I'd say maybe close to 100.
Close to 100.
And we had a good showing from Washtenaw County as well. We had a number of people from Superior Township. We had at least 8 or 9 people from Washtenaw County. At least 8 or 9 people.
Did they charter a plane or what?
It's actually not that far, Doug. It took about an hour for me to get home.
Really?
Yes. Straight 94.
Anything further?
No.
Okay. Anything at all? All right. My report on March 16th, I was the road commissioner staffing the chat with the road commission. We had 3 visitors. It was an hour well spent. Please note that in the spring 2022 issue of Crossroads magazine, our own managing director, Cheryl Siddle, was featured as one of the women in positions of leadership and authority in Michigan's various road commissions themselves. The article was titled "Women Building Up in Roads." Very proud that you were featured and able to be a participant in that. Thank you, Cheryl. Our next item on the agenda is the managing director and her staff and staff reports. Cheryl.
Thank you. Just wanted to point out quickly, I know Nicole mentioned it in the HR report, but we did fill the safety coordinator and trainer position. Craig Timmer will be joining us at the end of April. We're quite proud to have that new position, so thank you to the board for authorizing that additional role. I know that safety obviously is fundamental to everything that we do. And our own employees have been asking on a regular basis for training and for consistent training. And I'm glad that it's something that we will be able to dedicate the resources to be able to do. So we look forward to having Mr. Timmer join us, and hopefully at some point you will get to meet him as well. So we're very excited about that. This past week, I did attend the hearing along with Nate Murphy and our attorney Ron Reynolds with respect to the issues at North Territorial and Pontiac Trail. Ms. Johnson was present. Actually, it was in part because of her pleadings against us. As a result of that, the temporary restraining order that we had received actually was extended and made permanent through the duration of the project. And then in addition, it appears the judge will be entertaining a motion to dismiss. She listened at length to Ms. Johnson and then also clarified with her that under the circumstances, she really does need to be a property owner in order for her to have standing before the court, which I know is a difficult topic for anyone to understand. But really, any of the issues that she continues to raise, really, if they are to move forward, they need to be brought by her father, who does have legal representation. And of course, he can always represent himself. So the judge was very kind with respect to Ms. Johnson, but at the end of the day, it does look like all the legal proceedings will move forward in the manner that we had hoped that they would. So Mr. Reynolds did a nice job on our behalf on Wednesday. So I just wanted to bring you up to date on that. And then not last, but certainly not least, just a quick reminder, we do move to our summer hours schedule this coming Thursday. So that does mean that the majority of our workforce will be working 410s. That will be Monday through Thursday. The lobby will be closed to the public on Friday. Obviously, all of you do have access to the building, but we will be closed to the public on Friday. Some of the administration staff will work a variety of hours. We will have coverage throughout, but we're excited. So for the most part, we are moving to a 410s as of this starting this coming Thursday.
And those hours would be
6 to 4:30.
6 to 4:30.
So hope you're a morning person. So unless you have any questions for me, that's all I have to share this afternoon.
Any questions for the managing director?
I just have a comment.
Certainly.
I like the summer hours, the 410s. Anytime I've ever worked where we had that, productivity didn't suffer from it. It was really helpful to have that kind of schedule. I'm glad that they do that here.
I am too. It's something a lot of our workforce certainly does appreciate. It's one of the benefits that we offer. It's a little harder for us, obviously, when the days are shorter to get out and to be able to safely work on the road system during the winter, which is why we adjust for the summer hours so we can make best use of those daylight hours. But it is a nice benefit. And I know a lot of our workforce certainly appreciates being able to take advantage of it as well.
Commissioner Yamas?
Are the 410 hours every location, everybody has that, but I would imagine where people are scheduled, it's different, like your outside forces, our outside forces.
All of our operations staff, with the exception of a handful of people in the administration portion of operations, will be working the 410 schedule. Our engineering and administration, it sort of varies depending on the role within the organization. Our communications staff, they mirror the office hours, so they too will be on the 410 work schedule. In engineering and a lot of our projects in construction, they certainly are going to work whatever hours are necessary to work with the contractor. So they stagger. Some of them stay on an 8-hour schedule, some of them go to a 9-hour schedule, and some of them stay on 10s.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the managing director? Okay.
All right. So with that, I'd be happy to turn it over to Matt.
Good afternoon, Matt McDonnell, Director of Engineering. I just wanted to share with the board some bid results. We did get bids in on Friday for Pontiac Trail and North Territorial. Unfortunately, they are much like the trend. Bids came in high. The consolation on that is the majority of federal funds. So our local share of the overage is very minimal. So for instance, Pontiac Trail, the engineer's estimate was roughly $1.5 million. It came in at 1.819. The low bidder was Fonson. And so that roughly $300,000 overage is majority of that is kind of an 80-20. So 80% federal, 20% local. So our share is roughly 60,000. So, and then also we got bids in for 2 of our paving projects. Barker Road in Northfield Township was combined with Packard Road in Pittsfield Township. Both projects are bid together. That engineer's estimate was just over $1.1 million, and bids came in at 1.293, and the low bidder was Cadillac. So that 200,000-ish overages, roughly 40,000 is going to be covered as our local share. So as we look to our first quarter budget adjustments, we'll be making those small adjustments to the local share project. So a lot of the overages, again, is covered with federal money. So, and we got contractors. The bids were all very closely tight. We had 4 and 5 bidders on each of those. So it was definitely well advertised, and we had very competent contractors. So good results. Not as unexpected given all the inflationary costs that we're all incurring.
So I know in the past, Matt, we've had trouble getting people to bid at all on some of our projects. What do you attribute this enhanced interest in bidding?
The bid through MDOT typically will get at least a minimum of 3 to 5 bidders. So the MDOT projects that are the larger, over $1 million, typically there's significant interest. But the lower value, it becomes a little more challenging. And we do strategize to try and combine, as I stated, the one was a major intersection, but the other were 2 road segments that we're doing paving on. So we try and combine those and make sure that their scope is similar. So that's all I really had. We're continuing to make progress and appreciate the board's support on all the items. There was a number of them, and some of them were the MDOT agreements for those 2 projects, which really outline that cost sharing and responsibility. So,
Commissioner Yamas.
So our share seems to be, is it lower than what we anticipated?
so our share is more than we anticipated, but the additional amounts total just under 100,000.
Right.
For those 2 projects, which are combined. You've got 1.8, 1.2, so you've got $3 million. $3 million worth of work, and our share of that overage was roughly 100,000. So we're making that budget adjustment in the first quarter budget.
Okay.
And that's because these are projects that we share with the feds, so they pick up 80% and we're only on the hook for 20.
Yeah, and the overages was closer to 500,000. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Matt. Dan?
Good afternoon,
Good
everyone. This is nice to see everybody in person like this. Kind of feel
Identify
it.
yourself for the record.
Okay, Dan Ackerman, Director of Finance and IT for the Road Commission. Kind of a sense of normalcy, I think. So it's nice to, yeah, right. Maybe I jinxed it. I don't know, but no, this is great. So, well, I'd like to start with the Michigan Transportation Funds on the last page of your packet. And I apologize, I have to keep taking my glasses on and off because my eyes are bad. So anyway, so if you look at the last page there, the February 2022 Michigan Transportation Funds are up almost 11% from February 2021. Year to date, we're up almost 7%. And if you look at the bottom right there, if we projected out 7% for the rest of the year, which I don't expect, I don't think any of us do, we'd be at $35.5 million. So our budget currently is at $33 million. Certainly, I would not recommend going up to the 35.5, but when we look at the first quarter budget adjustments, I think we can make some sort of adjustment. Certainly, we don't want to go, too overboard. There's a lot of factors out there. We don't know the impact on inflation as far as, consumption of fuel. Are people going to continue to buy vehicles? So there's a lot of things that, make me a little nervous on the other side, but I think it would be appropriate to make some sort of adjustment and increase our budget from the $33 million. Some other things, I saw the governor vetoed the gas tax holiday. We kind of knew that was coming, but it was nice to finally see that happening. Certainly, they're talking about the 6% sales tax. That doesn't impact the road commission. It does impact other organizations, but so at least for now, it seems like we've escaped that. And again, inflation. What other impacts potentially Michigan transportation funds? Went from 3% increase in January compared year to year to 11%. Next month could be down. I may even check with MDOT to see why there was such a huge increase. I mean, were people driving more in February or purchasing more vehicles? I don't know. A lot of times that's their response, but the County Road Association has been pretty good about getting some information, and MDOT too, explaining some of the larger differences. So, I'm not as concerned when it's a larger increase kind of in our favor. Certainly if it dropped by 30%, we would be calling them. We would have already called them and had some answers on that. So, but we'll see what the trend is or lack of a trend. But obviously, as we always say, we monitor it closely, and but you can expect in the first quarter for us to make some sort of adjustment on Michigan transportation funds. Any questions on that at all? Definitely important. So here it is, our first meeting back in person, and I have show and tell for everyone. I promise I won't do this every time.
Is this
but-
Plant Moran?
Yes.
Thank you. No, absolutely.
So what I handed out is the 2021 financials, audited financials from Plant Moran. The next working session is probably one of my favorites of the year. We'll be talking all sorts of numbers. So if you folks are number people, you're going to love it. If you're not, I apologize. A lot of great information in here. It's complex and again, lots of numbers. So we wanted to give the commissioners plenty of time to read through this, and you could ask questions in advance of the presentation. So Plant Moran either will be here in person or remotely. They will have a PowerPoint presentation to provide, to summarize this nicely for you if you don't care to read each and every page. And certainly we will provide the PowerPoint presentation in advance of the meeting. I know.
How far in advance, Dan?
We are going to try and get it to you by next Wednesday for the following Tuesday.
Okay.
So you'll have almost hopefully about a week with the presentation, but we just thought we'd give these to you. We have them now.
Mhm.
We thought we'd give them to you now. Feel free to reach out to me, email, give me a call if you have any initial questions, or if you want to wait for the presentation from Plant Moran. A lot of great stuff in there. So you actually have two things. You have the report, and then there's a letter. This letter is from the auditors to the commissioners. Also great information. I did want to bring your attention to page 2. Certainly the auditors will bring this up. They had, I guess, a concern you could call it, as far as our lack of segregation of duties. And I just want to kind of explain it to you. Certainly the auditors will as well, and you can ask questions. But so the finance department is myself and 2 clerks. And in April, our payroll clerk, Lori Hackbarth, retired, which great for her. And then Tracy Balkwell, who was our finance clerk, handling accounts payable and receivables, she was promoted to payroll clerk. And then we actually did hire an internal candidate to handle the finance clerk duties, accounts payable, receivables, depreciation, fixed assets, a lot of various things. for one reason or another, that ended up not working out. So we actually had a vacancy for a while. And we are getting tens of hundreds of thousands of dollars into this agency. And rather than have that sit and wait for another clerical person, I decided to take some of those functions on myself. So I was preparing the cash receipts, and I was also taking the deposit to the bank, and that's the key. The auditors like to see a separation there. So at the time, it was myself and Tracy was doing the payroll, so she's learning a new position. I didn't feel it was fair to her to ask her to also help, because she was also helping with some other things in the interim. And enough is enough. So kind of being a team player, and also I didn't want to burden Cheryl or anyone else. So I said, I'm going to do all this myself. And so the auditors took issue with that. Since we've hired Jamie Bray to handle the finance clerk positions, but trying to learn from some things that happened with the previous person that we had in that position, we brought her along a little more slowly. So we let her focus on accounts payable. So basically paying all the bills and vendors. And I continue to handle the cash receipting responsibilities. Again, trying to move that forward, trying not to overwhelm her, because business needs to continue, right? So those deposits are very important to me, cash flow and all that. We want to get it to the bank as soon as we can. So that was probably from July or August through the end of the year. And I'm happy to report that Jamie is far enough along that she's been trained on cash receipting. As a matter of fact, she prepared her second deposit for me today that I will be taking to the bank. So we've already corrected their concerns, and Jamie's doing a great job with it. But it kind of sticks out a little bit, and I just wanted to kind of share why it's here. I've talked to Cheryl. Cheryl said, if it's a matter of her having to go take a deposit to the bank, she's like, I can handle that. So certainly if we were in the situation again, maybe we'd handle it a little differently. But like I said, it was kind of me just saying, I'm just going to take care of it. I like to get things done. And again, involving money coming into the road commission is very important to me. I'm not just going to let it sit there because we can't have proper controls in place. So I was willing to, if the auditors had a problem, I was willing to take that in order to continue to have business move forward. So I just kind of wanted to talk about it a little bit, because I'm sure it'll get your attention. The auditors, we've had some discussions, and they felt they just wanted to communicate it to the board as their due diligence, and their firm takes things very seriously, of course. So, like I said, we've corrected it, and we have new practices going forward should the issue occur again. So I don't know if there's any questions on it, but I just wanted to kind of explain a little bit.
Commissioner Yamas.
Well, thanks for explaining that, but I'm real familiar with this process. You are also, though, right?
I'm sorry?
Are you also familiar with that part in audits, that the same person who takes in the cash is not the person who's supposed to deposit the cash?
There's the separation of duties.
Yes.
And it becomes a little challenging when you only have a staff of 3.
Yeah.
And also the auditor said there's been so much turnover at a lot of organizations that this has been fairly commonplace. And certainly, like I said, I did kind of learn from it too, and we'll handle the situation differently. Hopefully it doesn't happen again.
Right.
But yes, yeah, you try to have the separation of duties as best you can. And I feel like we do a pretty good job with it. It was just, this point in time where, I just made the executive decision to, move things forward. And obviously they just had some concerns about that.
Well, I'm grateful for your honesty, because we need people who are honest, but certainly I know why there is that lack.
Other questions? I'm sorry.
That's it. But just thank you for explaining that, because I would have come to
Yeah,
you.
I'm sure. Yes. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure. So Dan, this is one of my complaints over time with Plant Moran. If they can produce this, they should be able to produce the PowerPoint as a companion document to
Okay.
this. So we get it all at the same time. And I know it's not you
Right.
that's holding this up, but if you could please pass along my continued disappointment and frustration that we don't have that companion document to help us digest this.
And you know, Commissioner Fuller, with all due respect, we were contemplating, should we give these to you guys now or at the same time next week? So really, if anything, this is like super in advance of the other. So they probably could have gotten us a PowerPoint presentation, but we just decided we have these reports now, let's give them to you. You know,
Oh, I
give you a
appreciate
couple
that.
extra weeks to digest all that. So, you know, but definitely they heard that loud and clear, and definitely we'll get that to you well in advance of the meeting.
Okay, and as always, I would like a color copy of that. So if
Okay.
that's available, let me know and I'll swing through and pick it up.
Okay, yep. Would you have rather we held off on this until we had
No.
the PowerPoint? Okay,
No,
okay.
no.
That was just kind of something we had talked about. And we said, well, we've got them. There's a lot in here. Let's provide it now, even knowing the PowerPoint, because I had told them, you know, I gave them the deadline of next week. So,
Okay.
yeah.
I just don't understand.
Okay.
So that's all.
Okay.
Other questions or
Any other-
comments about finance?
Yep. So then also on the working session, we'll be talking about the first quarter budget adjustments for 2022. Matt shared some challenges that we're experiencing. So there'll be a lot of things for us to discuss. So also by next Wednesday, we'll get you the entire report as well as a PowerPoint presentation with a synopsis of everything to kind of parse it down a little bit better. But I'm looking forward to that discussion. You know, Plant Moran's going to cover our financial situation coming out of 2021 we ended up in a decent shape. I always temper that a little bit. I don't say it was great or, you know, so, but all things considered, we had a fairly good year in 2021, which will help us nicely coming into 2022. You know, we had deficit spending that the board approved in 2022, and we will see kind of the impact of increasing Michigan transportation funds. You know, is there impact on fuel costs, you know, how we're coming out of winter with some of our projects that we need to adjust. Is there a possibility we can add more projects? So there's going to be a lot of things to talk about. So, and it just seems like talking about our 2021 year-end financials and then going right into our first quarter 2022, it seems like that makes a lot of sense to have both in the same working session. I think it's worked quite well. So we're looking forward to all that. I also had meetings with the departments this week to meet with their teams. I look at the budget a certain way, and Matt, Jim, and their staff look at it a little bit different. And hopefully we come to the same conclusions. But if not, we've had some very robust discussions about where we're coming from. And ultimately, Cheryl can make the final call on some things. But you know, we have a very good process, and you know, I always look forward to meeting with the staffs and just going over all the numbers again. So that'll all be coming the next working session in April here. So, and then just real quickly, as far as IT, Chris and Josh are working on the assembly room to make it function as quite as nice as the boardroom, which again, this is my first in-person meeting, and I think it's awesome.
Right.
Everything, how it seems to work, and with my bad eyes, seeing screens and so on. So I think it works well. And the goal is to have our assembly room work equally as well. And they're very, very close with that. So they'll be kind of tweaking some things, which is great. They're also going to be moving on to our Teams phone project, which they've already are in the process of, but they want to roll that out to the rest of the organization. And they're also working on some computer refreshes, getting those prepared and ready to go. So, and that's all I have, unless there's any other questions.
Anything else? Thanks, Dan.
Okay, thank you.
And Dan did ask me, I was the one who certainly suggested giving the information as much in advance was helpful. We'll make sure that the rest of it follows suit. You'll have it almost a full week in advance of next week, because there's going to be a lot of numbers coming your way. And we certainly appreciate the fact that you are diligent about going through all that information and want to make sure that you have plenty of time to digest it. And certainly if you have any questions you want to talk about in advance, that's great. And we're going to be going through it in depth. We welcome your questions during the working session as well. All right, batting cleanup today is Jim Harmon.
Bring it home. Good afternoon. For the record, Jim Harmon, Director of Operations for the Washtenaw County Road Commission. As I was listening to Dan, it dawned on me, this is the first time that I've addressed all of you together in this space, and it's my pleasure. It's been a long time coming, and as stated previously by my colleagues, I'm grateful to be here. This interaction is incredibly meaningful to us, to me. Something is lost in the virtual arena. I was talking to Cheryl about that today, and just thank you for the opportunity to be in here today. Staff report, start with that for the operations department, begins on page 95 of your very long packet and concludes on page 100, includes our maintenance activities, mostly by direct force on the county road system, also state trunk line efforts, and buildings and grounds in our shop. A couple of highlights. We have been spending an inordinate amount of time from March 7th through the conclusion of that staff report on pothole patching and stone patching on our unpaved road system, surface maintenance. I don't think that's any surprise for any of you. The frost has come out of the road bed. The roads are largely thawed. There are a couple notorious roads that take a little longer, but we wouldn't hold the entire public road system hostage because of those few segments that remain. Stinchfield Woods on the shaded side of Peach Mountain is an example. It takes a little bit longer for that road to thaw out. That being said, our staff have mobilized motor graders, heavy trucks, bringing a variety of aggregate products to bear to bridge the soft spots, basically to keep these roads open. We admit they're rough, they're potholed, they don't last very long after our work effort. And it's because they're so soft. I think all of us have walked on the beach along Lake Michigan or any of our Great Lakes, and you get a little close to the water and that sand really doesn't have much load-bearing capacity to sink up to your ankles, right? That's similar to what our roads have become. They're soft, they're super saturated with moisture, they're weak, and that's why our county highway engineer exercises his authority with the concurrence of the managing director and imposes seasonal weight restrictions, as all our neighbors do. We're fortunate that conditions have improved to a point where we were able to suspend those restrictions this morning, get back to normal loading. We leave it up to our permits office to make a determination on overloads, commercial operations that need to haul heavier than normal loads, loads that can't be divided, like a big excavator or something like that. So they're entrusted with making those determinations based on the requested route. And it could be a couple more weeks before certain roads can handle heavier weights. In any event, a lot of surface maintenance. Also draw your attention to the state trunk line system. Our state trunk line crew spent an inordinate amount of time over the last 3 weeks on sections of US 23 and I-94. Coming apart, neglected by the state of Michigan, in much need of significant rehabilitation, resurfacing, I should say reconstruction in some cases. And we're all hopeful that the state can make Washtenaw County's trunk line system a much higher priority. Our professional staff do not believe that it's sustainable to continue in this fashion with cold patching and hot patching. Our motorists, the traveling public, are at an increased risk because of those degraded surfaces. This is the most heavily traveled roads in our county. They're of vital importance to our economy and to our communities. And our people are at increasingly exposed risk, having to go out again and again and again and patch these deteriorating surfaces. I'm grateful for our managing director recently taking the time to go out and share time with our superintendent and our foreman and our crews and witness that firsthand and write a very well-written letter to the region engineer for MDOT, pleading for help, pleading for moving up timetables, at least with certain segments of these important roadways. So I want to share that with the board. We will continue doing the best we can. We have to. We're under contract and the public expects us to. So we'll continue to perform the surface maintenance. We recently produced over 800 tons of cold patch behind this building on this property. And we have put an incredible dent in that mountain of material. most of which has gone on the state trunk line system at MDOT's expense. I just spoke with our heavy equipment crew, and we're making arrangements to create another probably 430 tons of coal patch within the next 10 days, I think. And that entails our liquid asphalt provider will bring a large tanker of liquid asphalt up here. They'll bring a device called a pug mill, and our operators will help load that pug mill with aggregate that we have stockpiled here to create the coal patch on site. So that pile will put a big dent in that too over the next few months. And then with our shop continuing to keep us rolling, keep us moving with services and repairs. One project they're working on is repurposing one of our older heavy trucks, stripped everything off of it so it was bare bones cab and chassis, sent that off to have that chassis sandblasted and repainted. And they're in the process of outfitting that, repurposing that as a dedicated brine truck. And there'll be one of the final ones that we're building in-house so that we can apply dust control effectively on our public roads. And a combination of our semi-tractors with our large tanker trailers and then these smaller single unit brine trucks allow us the versatility to go down narrow roads and unpaved subdivision streets, dead ends, and also long gravel roads with the big tankers and be effective and timely in dust control. Any questions on all that information? Yes, Tash.
I downloaded the weight restrictions app. Just something to do, but it was really on time with what the updates that you had given. So when you put that in, does it go directly to the app right away?
No, the app is something is produced by my alma mater, Michigan Tech, and the local technical assistance program at Houghton, Michigan. Same outfit that creates RoadSoft, our Pacer maps. You probably heard of those, that where we assess our pavement. That group also has created this app called Thawcaster. And I'm familiar with it. I probably 20 years ago had created a spreadsheet that does the same thing. And it's all based on the same methodology. And so I'm very comfortable with what I'm using on behalf of the agency and continue to use that. And it matches very closely what Thawcaster is showing. I like mine because I'm familiar with it.
Sure.
And I trust it because I'm putting the data in there.
Right.
And I'm managing that on a daily basis. And then it allows me to report to managing director, county highway engineer, my staff, how are we doing? And it's just empirical. It's no substitute for field observation, actually going out, getting boots dirty and looking at conditions. But in combination, it's incredibly powerful. We went a little longer than we typically would with those models because everything was so wet. We needed, if things had thawed out, we needed it to dry out a little bit before the roads were able to bear the normal loading. So thank you. I'm glad that you downloaded that.
Commissioner Green and then the managing director.
Thank you. So I have noticed the deterioration around 94 and 23. What is the primary funding for our state trunk line system?
Federal aid and MDOT's share of the Michigan transportation funds. They depend most heavily on federal aid, as we do for major projects. It's overdue, and it's in a very expensive amount of work that needs to be done, and it's competing with the entire state's needs. And so none of us envy MDOT for the situation they find themselves in. We don't blame our colleagues at MDOT. This is a function at the highest levels of government that are appropriating or not appropriating the funding necessary to maintain these important roadways at all levels. So we're hopeful that MDOT hears the managing director, listens, and that they reprioritize to make the roads in our county, make those improvements sooner than later.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Cheryl?
Well, I had two things. One in response.
Your hand up? Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Commissioner Yamas can go ahead.
I just wanted to thank you because I have noticed the workers on 23 because I live so close to that getting on and their caution you know, getting that cold patch out there, and I'm thinking, it just makes me shiver on how people are flying by and they're just kind of waiting for their turn to get that stuff out there. Good work for them, but it just looks so dangerous. It is dangerous.
Commissioner Yamas, thank you for those observations and recognizing that inherent hazard. But for all too frequent emergencies where we have to send a couple workers out to deal with a specific location, these have been rolling lane closures. We have to get permission from MDOT to do this, and they dictate the time of day that we can do this work. Typically, it's outside of the morning and evening peak for obvious reasons. To better ensure our people's safety, superintendent, my authorization rented 2 trucks that have crash attenuators on the back of them and modern flashing devices to make the work zone that much more conspicuous. They're sacrifice vehicles. If someone wasn't paying attention and piled into our convoy, they pile hopefully into these crash cushions, and that would absorb all that energy and help protect our vulnerable human beings from injury. So we've taken this even much more seriously than ever because of the sheer amount of work and the frequency that we have to return to these spots. So the rental of these 2 crash attenuator trucks has been an important addition to that work.
Because I've noticed them out there often.
Yes.
Terrifying.
Welcome.
Cheryl.
On that very topic, thank you, Jim, for bringing up that letter. I did not get the letter out in time to include it in the board packet, so you'll see it in the next board packet that went to, as Jim indicated, our region engineer, Dee Parker. I did have the opportunity, as Jim indicated, to go out with our state trunk line crew. And as many years as I have worked here and certainly driven around and seen the exact same thing that all of you have said, it is very powerful to be out there with them, to see the speed with which the traffic is going by, to see the lack of adherence to the lane closures, even though, especially on 23 and 94, we've been using those rolling lane closures and really trying to slow and control the traffic. It's amazing how many people still think they're gonna somehow dodge around another vehicle, even though they're in between our crash attenuators as well, and those are our folks that are out there working. So it was a very eye-opening experience, and I think just underscores the importance of trying to have the state invest, and we understand they too have limited funding just like we do. They're having to make similar decisions, but as they're maintaining agency, we hope that we can encourage them to make some different investments and to hopefully prioritize some of these road segments. Tim Hackbarth is our state trunk line foreman. And he said, all my time right now is spent on these 2 areas, on I-94 west of Chelsea, and then on US 23 between 94 and M14. So he's doing very little work anywhere else. And obviously there's other state trunk lines that we're taking care of on their behalf as well. And we're pretty much spending most of our energy bouncing between those 2. So I was very thankful to have had that opportunity. You'll see the letter certainly encouraging them to try to either move forward investment or to at least acknowledge the fact that hopefully they take our word a little more than others, since we are their maintaining agency and we take that role very seriously as well. So you'll see that letter. If you have any questions for me or for Jim on that, please let us know. The other thing that I was going to just ask was, Commissioner McCollum, when you referenced the app, there's a couple of different apps that are out there. CRA has an app.
That's the one I downloaded.
Okay. And so what Jim was talking about was the Thawcaster, and that's software that he utilizes. And every morning Jim's been looking at the numbers to see where we're at. And that's an internal discussion. And that's a tool that he uses every single day. It's very important to how we're monitoring and determining part of the decisions that goes into the decision making on when we're going to impose and then lift the springtime weight restrictions. That information, when we do make a decision to change status, to either impose or to take them off, we send that up to CRA, and then they've been collecting that information, pushing it out through the app. So I wasn't sure which app you were referring to.
I forgot the name of it. I didn't know it was more than one app.
So I just want to make sure we're both, because both of them are very important. And obviously, like I said, Jim's been utilizing, our software, knowing that it's going to mimic what LTAP has been using as well.
County Road Association is gathering all that information from each road commission and posting when they were put on, when they were taken off. A few road commissions take them off in part, and so forth. So that's really helpful to the commercial industry out there, the business enterprises that are hopeful with weight restrictions, so we can start moving again. And then in conclusion, I think winter is run out of gas. But it's not uncommon to get a little bit of snow or freezing rain in early April, but I don't see that in the forecast. Our last event was last week on the 30th. We had a bit of a glazing of freezing rain. Adam Late, one of our superintendents, it was his turn, and he was up most of the night, as was I, but he was actually in the field and monitoring conditions, and he called folks in around 11:15. Everyone was forewarned. All the trucks were loaded with salt. It was a salting operation, not a plowing operation. We had good response, and we're able to take care of that and reduce any impact on that morning commute and any impact on businesses and schools and so forth. So we were pleased with that. Some of our peers to the north, they got a little bit more, so they had their hands a little more full. But at this point, we've applied about 22,000, roughly, or 21,500 tons of salt. Little high on the average end, but not out of bounds. It's in the ballpark of an
I
average
miss your
winter.
posters.
I know.
Not to criticize, but I miss your posters.
And thank you. And I assure the board, already analyzed our needs for next year and have placed the order with the state of Michigan under our annual contract, which most municipalities use. So we will have sufficient salt supply in our facilities in the next season. And yes, I already have to think about that, because think about this current budget. We're talking about first quarter. I have to think about that fourth quarter and the impact that winter might have on your budget. So we'll be ready for that. Other than that, I'd be happy to answer any other questions the road commissioners may have.
Anything for Jim? Additional? No?
I thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Thank you. That's it.
That's it?
Yep.
That's it? Okay. All right. So we're wrapping things up here. I want everyone to please note that our next time that we meet is April 19th, 9 a.m. working session, 1 o'clock board meeting. And then our virtual chat sessions tomorrow, Commissioner Yamas is the commissioner on call. And then on April 13th, it's Commissioner McCollum who will be staffing that. There's no further business to come before the board. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Aaron, if you would please call the roll.
Ryan Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Douglas Fuller,
Aye.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas,
Yes.
Commissioner Joanne McCullum,
Yes.
and Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.